What up? Salvador Briggman here. Welcome back to this YouTube channel. And in today's video, I want to talk about crowdfunding for apps. So if you're looking to do an app or you already have an app, you're looking to use crowdfunding as a method of getting funding for that sucker, we are talking about that in today's YouTube video. I'm really getting down to the brass tacks of what you should know about this and casting a wide net with what are the ways in which you can do this, and more importantly, how should you go about getting funding for an app. And on this channel, I love to put out content just like this. I love to demystify complicated subjects, whether that's Kickstarter, Indiegogo, equity crowdfunding, crowdfunding as a larger discipline for nonprofits and charities. In addition, I do talk about other topics when it comes to demystifying, really getting to your goals, building a bigger vision for your life, turning your passion into profit and what that means. And the cool thing that separates my community from every other community out there in YouTube is that we are action takers. We turn ideas into reality. And that's really the crux, if you will, of why I started my business, crowdcrux.com, back in 2012, was to not only educate, but to also share with you useful resources, tools, and information that can move you forward in your life. So let's get into it with this video. Wherever you are hailing in from, I've had students who are in the United States. I've had students who call up for a coaching call that are in Florida here, like me. I'm in Miami, Florida. I've had students when I was living in New York. I was living in New York for 6 years that are there. I've had students internationally around the world, in Australia, in Canada, in China. I've had students that are in Europe, in Italy, in Germany, all over. The cool thing that unites us is the fact that anyone can use crowdfunding for an app. And I've demonstrated that repeatedly on my podcast, Crowdfunding Demystified, where every single week we are documenting success stories of people that are raising 6 and 7 figures when it comes to crowdfunding campaigns. So I've been talking with people who are in their teens, people in their 20s, and upwards to their 80s that have successfully used crowdfunding all over the world. So anyone can do this. The question is whether or not it's a good fit for you, and also how to go about doing it. So the first thing that I will start with when it comes to this video is that there are various methods of raising funding from the crowd. The first one is more of the traditional method, which is using rewards-based crowdfunding in order to raise funding for your app. So what is rewards-based crowdfunding? All it means is that when someone backs your campaign, when someone actually supports you, when they become a backer, when they actually give funding to what it is that you're trying to build, they're basically pre-ordering your end product. They're pre-ordering your app. Now, I have a lot of experience with this, and it can work very well for a software startup, but there are also some kind of nitpicky things that you need to be aware of when it comes to using rewards-based crowdfunding. So the first thing that you should be aware of is that you have to be cognizant of what you're giving away when you're actually raising funding. With rewards-based crowdfunding, you're basically having people pre-order the app before you come out with it. So think of this as more of like e-commerce, right? Pre-orders, people backing it. This is, I think, of Kickstarter campaigns, Indiegogo campaigns that and platforms that fall into that category. So someone is going to be running one of these campaigns. What they're going to be doing is promising access to the app, or an insider community, or beta access, or it could be a 6-month subscription or a lifetime subscription to the app. When it comes to rewards-based crowdfunding, this is going to be great if you don't want to give away equity in your company. In addition, it's going to be killer if you want to grow the community with you. You want early validation. You want people taking action and joining your tribe and downloading the app, the funding to be able to actually go out there and develop it to a much larger amount, and also to get feedback along the way. The second method when it comes to crowdfunding is equity crowdfunding. And equity crowdfunding has been making headlines mainly because I've also been putting out a lot of videos, right, on equity crowdfunding, because I don't think there's enough good education information out there for people just like you to consider this as one solution to the problem of needing funding. So when it comes to equity crowdfunding, we think about platforms like Start Engine, Republic, WeFunder. Of these, WeFunder.com is the biggest when it comes to regulation crowdfunding, which is a method of using a securities exemption in order to raise funds from the crowd. So equity crowdfunding is when you are doing a crowdfunding campaign, and rather than people pre-ordering your app, they're actually becoming investors in your startup company. Now, you can also give away, for example, like a subscription or a lifelong access to the app. And there's different tiers. If someone invests like, $1,000, you can give them this, or $500, you can give them that, or 5,000, you can give them this, right? There are different ways you can incentivize those investors. But the one thing you should know is that they are going to have either equity in the company, or depending on the contract which you set up with your equity crowdfunding campaign, they might do a revenue share agreement, a convertible note, a crowd safe, right? There are many different methods of structuring this, but they are investors, and you are basically offering securities online. Now, this is 100% legal to do, as pioneered by Regulation Crowdfunding in the Jobs Act. This actually got started in 2012 when I was attending George Washington University. I was actually putting out a lot of education information on this and studying this as well, but it's extremely exciting, and we're seeing more and more companies do equity crowdfunding campaigns. The third method of using crowdfunding, and I will admit this is a little bit offbeat, but my job here is again to demystify what's happening behind the scenes and share that with you, and you can make your own decision. The third method in using crowdfunding is using what's called subscription-based crowdfunding. So that's using, for example, websites like Patreon in order to offer an experience that's greater than just what it is that you're offering with that specific app, or to get around payment processing depending on which provider you're going with as a platform for the app. So this could be, for example, hosting a specific podcast or live streams, or talking about the development of the app, or teaching even a course. You can use that Patreon as a website, and it's again subscription-based crowdfunding, in order to raise money on a recurring basis, on a monthly basis for your app or for the development of that. This tends to work much better if you're also generating content related to the app. So for example, videos or blog posts or podcasts or comics or something like that, or that one of the people on your team is part of that kind of sphere of influencers, or is willing to create content in that way and create this insider community. You can use a website like Patreon in order to do that. Oh my gosh, Sal, this sounds like so many forms of crowdfunding. Which one should I use? Well, first of all, relax, right? Stress is gonna give you some wrinkles there. So you gotta relax here. The first thing is that in really selecting this, the number one criteria, and I get a lot of coaching calls on this, people calling in wondering about this, one of the biggest criteria is what you are willing to give up as a founder. Now, I don't like that term giving up, because it's more of a partnership if we're really putting the right label on it. What kind of partnership agreement are you willing to enter into? So again, if you're not willing to give up equity in the app, it's going to be quite challenging to do a regulation crowdfunding campaign. There are ways to get around it, and you can do more of like a revenue share, or you could raise money through debt, and you can use crowdfunding to do that, but it's just a tiny bit different, and you definitely want to get some expertise when it comes to going down that path. If you're not willing, though, just say blanket to give away any kind of equity, but you do want to get funding, and you want to get users, and you want to get people trying it out and getting feedback, to me, Kickstarter is a great path for that. Not only because if you're an established company, you can also get more people that have never sampled the app before to check it out, but also because, again, you're building this with them, with your tribe. So it's a great fit if you're an established company. Maybe you already have a business or an events business, and you're trying to create an app, and you're trying to use Kickstarter to do that. That's a great option. In addition, if you're a beginning startup company and you don't have any kind of web presence, there are methods as well that you can get people to show up to that campaign, to start backing it, and to have you soar in the charts. But again, it's for if you're not willing to give away equity, at least at this point in time, or you already have investors. You did like a Reg D campaign or something like that, and you already got some investors on your cap table. Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillrite is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The Top Campaigns uses trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfillrite today. Link in the description. If you are willing to give away some equity in order to raise capital, then I think the actual decision gets a little bit more challenging, because then you're kind of competing. You could either be doing a Kickstarter campaign, or you could be doing a regulation crowdfunding campaign on platforms like WeFunder.com, Republic, start engine, etc. So with this style of campaign, if you go down this path, you'd have to consider, okay, so if I'm giving away equity, right, I need to set a valuation for the company. I have to decide the actual contract or agreement, which I'm going to be doing when it comes to these shareholders. I also have to get together a great deck for those investors, be thinking about the target market, the size, the growth, my competition, all the business information you need to assemble for a really good pitch deck, campaign page, business plan, etc. So the way that I phrase this with people that are there is that if you're willing to give away equity, if you have at least a little bit of a professional network that's built, it's better if you have LinkedIn or you have previous investors or customers, or if you even have, for example, you've worked at a job before and you have some great connections from that, it's going to be much easier for you to raise money with investment crowdfunding or equity crowdfunding. Also, if you have very unique technology, you have strong team members when it comes to your actual app or software application which you're developing, or you're in a very big growing marketplace where people might see the value of becoming an early investor in that app because of the growth potential when it comes to that marketplace, the big problem which you're solving, and really where you're going when it comes to the company. This is a personal choice, but what I would say is that if you are doing an app and you're trying to use crowdfunding for it, and you're willing to stomach a little bit of the risk that goes with being public, right, and raising capital from the crowd, then you're gonna have a much easier time hitting bigger numbers with an app using equity crowdfunding, because people are gonna be investing around $800 to $1,200 versus with Kickstarter, it's maybe gonna be $50, maybe $100, like, there and there as you're coming together. So you're gonna hit bigger numbers with fewer people, and also you might have investors that are willing to participate at that 5K check level, 10K check level, or beyond, which can allow you to very quickly, surpass or get to your funding goal, and in that way, hit bigger numbers with your campaign. So first of all, I want to talk about how to do this, but if you do find this to be a tiny bit challenging and you want to have a guide that's going to help hold your hand throughout this process when it comes to marketing and promoting, what do you got to do from a step-by-step standpoint to really go big, could get funding when it comes to this app, and you just want to dot your I's, cross your T's, and make sure you have a strong foundation going into your campaign, whether you're at the idea stage, whether you're even still deciding which platform to go with, or you're even more mature along with that, and you want to make sure you do this right. Go and check out my individual one-on-one coaching call option at the link down below at crowdcrux.com/coaching. Not only can we go through everything you've been preparing up until this point in the campaign, but also the step-by-step process leading into the launch, the things that you might not know about that are happening behind the scenes currently when it comes to major crowdfunding campaigns, the techniques, the tools, the strategy, and the know-how that you got to make sure you have in order to go big with this crowdfunding campaign. So go down below and book your individual one-on-one coaching call when it comes to that, and we can get that call scheduled. All right, my friend, let's finish off this video going into sort of a little bit of the step-by-step process and some advice that I have as you're going through this. So the first one is you got to make a decision, right, of which crowdfunding method or which strategy you're going to be implementing. And that could be, again, rewards-based, equity-based, or subscription-based crowdfunding. The next thing is you need to assess where you are. Do you have the app yet? Do you have the prototype? Do you have the alpha? Do you just have the idea? Do you have a sketch on the napkin? Do you have the marketing plan already? Do you already have users? Are you an existing company or are you growing a new company, right? You really got to get clarity about your unique situation, what you have, what you're missing. And as I say with my coaching, right, the gap between where you are and where you want to go, and the things that are needed in order to fill that gap. And I have a lot of people that come to me like, Sal, I don't think I can actually do this, like raise funding from the crowd for this app. And all I say is it's really an exercise in filling in those gaps. It's about where you are and where you need to go, and focusing on the big domino that's going to knock every other domino forward and make life easier going forward and improve your chances of growing an app that ends up being much, much bigger than you ever imagined possible. The next thing you're going to have to do is start to actually take inventory of what you need in order to do a crowdfunding campaign. So that's going to vary based on the type of platform and the method you're using, but chances are you're going to need a video of some kind. You're going to need a campaign page. You're going to have some really great visuals as well, really selling the vision of what it is that you're doing, showing the features, the benefits, and everything that goes into that. And most importantly, you're going to need a marketing strategy. And this is how crowdfunding differs from other ways of raising funding, like doing more of a private raise, a private placement, a Reg D, those kinds of things. It differs, or like a VC raise. You still need to have some marketing materials, but that's more of like a sales exercise going one by one, right? After VCs, etc. Crowdfunding allows you to market this globally. So you can get people worldwide investing in your startup or in your app. So in order to do that, you have to have a very well coordinated marketing strategy, knowing what to say, knowing the formats, the channels, and what it is you're going to be putting out there that's going to move the lever, right? And get people actually taking action on your page and also start to give you funding, whichever platform you're going with. The final thing that I'm going to share with you when it comes to raising and getting funding for a software application using crowdfunding is that the biggest hurdle is not whether you have a great idea, or even if you have a great application. And this actually happened recently on a call of mine. And the person came to me and they were insanely well thought out about this application, an incredible problem which they're solving, a great app which they're developing, but they don't know how to communicate that. And that's what's going to hold you back, if anything, from seeing success. You need to be able to demonstrate and show to other people the thing that you've developed that has a unique selling point that's different from anything else out there, or the benefits to the end user. Why should they care? Why should they check it out? Why should they join you on this journey? Sometimes we have this idea of like an ego, right? And sometimes we get too invested in the startup company versus really viewing it as a business, as a startup, and giving it its best ingredients or fuel to let that rocket take off into space. So you got to make sure that if you have all that great stuff, that you're communicating it to the crowd. And that's the number one thing that I see people struggling with, specifically when it comes to apps and software. At this point in time, I hope that you enjoyed this video, at least found it to be useful, educational, and informative. And if you want to join my mission to educate the world, to demystify this for people globally, give me a subscribe, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and give me a thumbs up on this video. If nothing else, hit that subscribe button so that you'll get a notification every single time I come out with a new video weekly. But if you really do want to have, again, that hands-on approach going into a project, and you want to have assistance and help going into this launch, make sure this goes in your favor, that you're winning with this launch and you're smashing through your goal, make sure you go down below and book an individual one-on-one coaching call with me. We can get that call scheduled and we can go through everything when it comes to your specific application. Thank you so much. My name is Salvador Briggman. Stay tuned for my next video coming up next week, and I hope to see you there.